Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanardo. And if you haven't yet done so, please jump on over to Facebook and Instagram and throw us a like and follow. It all helps spread the word. Today, I'll be talking to Karen Russell, trainer and presenter for Les Mills Asia Pacific and State Group X manager for FLG. We discuss how training modules have evolved over time, instructors and how they're being stretched so thin since COVID, and giving feedback to program directors. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy the show. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show and having a chat to me. I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
No, I think, guys, as I've said to you and I've said to a lot of the others as well, I'm so proud and so privileged that you guys have all said yes to be part of the show and come on for a chat. So, I'm honoured as well as you guys are. So it's a weird place for me. I suppose I look at it and I think, you know what, Tony, I need to have a little bit more confidence in this and understand that you guys are part of this as well as I am. And, you know, the whole weirdness I need to get over.
Yeah, if we can give back a little bit to help other people, then I think what you're doing with the podcast is awesome. So congratulations.
Cool. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. Hey, I want to kick off and like I have done with all the other guys as well, start from your beginning and how you got into the fitness industry. Where did it all start for you?
My beginning is I have to search a long way back in history, almost to the dinosaurs to remember how that happened. I actually started my career as a PE teacher after doing exercise science degree with PE teaching. So I was a PE teacher for 7 years, and maths. There you go. That's my secret hidden talent. I like maths. Yeah. I'm a bit of a nerd. So I did that for 7 years, and while I was at uni, I randomly just started teaching group fitness classes because it was a thing that few other people were doing. And back then, you just sort of found some music and made up some stuff, and there was really no rules at all, and there was no training, and there was no qualifications, and you just did your stuff, and people followed. We did lots of shuttle runs and all sorts of strange things. And then I guess through that PE teaching stage, I ended up in various places, as you do as a teacher and as a young teacher, and just taught group fitness as a side gig. Yep. And then when I was pregnant with my first baby 25 years ago, I decided that I really didn't want to do that teaching gig anymore. And I was, I guess, lucky enough to be offered the opportunity to be a group fitness manager for an amazing lady at World Gym Toowoomba back in the day called Jackie Bidoff, who was the president of Fitness Australia at some stage, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And Jackie was one of the first people who was approached by Bill Robertson to take up a Les Mills license, and at that stage, there was no Australian-based trainers, and that's sort of how it all began. And then I moved to Brisbane, and just
brilliant
steamrolled it, but so I never went back to teaching.
Do you miss teaching, as in school teaching?
I love teaching, and I love teaching. It was high school kids. I don't think I could actually be a very good primary school teacher. That would kill me a little bit. Yeah. But that the high school teaching background, I guess, naturally led into I like educating people. Yeah. I like teaching people. So adult education and Les Mills training and that opportunity was a really good progression for me because it allowed me to utilize those skills. So I still feel in some way that I'm still a teacher. Yep. I'm just a teacher of different things, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that obviously BODYPUMP was the first program. Would I be correct in that? Because I think BODYPUMP was the first program that came to Australia, wasn't it?
Yeah. BODYPUMP was the first program, and it was a really interesting process back then. So it was 1996. Yep. And Bill Robertson, was personally traveling around, and I had to have an interview with him to make sure that I was a suitable applicant to actually go to the very first BODYPUMP training in Brisbane with Mike McSweeney.
Yeah.
So I had to pass the Bill Robertson test
Yes.
to
Yep.
make sure that I was, at that stage you had to look the part and you had to be fit, and that was the main two
Yep.
criteria, I think.
Yeah.
And the rest
Wow.
you'd sort of learn along the way. So yeah, we trained on Body Pump 17. First group of people in Brisbane to train in Body Pump, and I'm pretty sure that Mixed Meaning was making up the rules as we went. Like, yep, you guys did that bit. Okay, now you're going to do some hill sprints. Okay, you did that bit, and now we're going to do something else. And he just kept throwing stuff at us, and we just keep doing it.
Yep.
So that was well before any training manual was written, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Who else was in your training module for that one? Because if that was the first one in Aussie, there would have been some legends out there with you.
Look, there's a couple of instructors who are still around Brisbane who are
Yep.
in that training module. We did the training at the Intrapolly workout.
Yep.
And Kelly, who was on the training with me, is now running that facility with her brother.
Yep.
But yeah, there were no other trainers, presenters who were in that training module. Yeah, it was just me.
Yeah.
Who sort of, I don't even know how that happened, really. It was just, I don't know, right time, right place.
Yeah.
Maybe Jackie had a conversation. I don't even know.
Yep.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was about to say it's 20-something years ago. It's okay if you don't remember. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
No, we're not meant to remember everything. I think that's perfect, though, that back then that you actually had that interview or that chat with Bill to make sure you were okay and you were going to be the right fit to bring that program. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was it was a pretty scary part of the process.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Wow.
That was, in a way, harder than actually going to the training because no one had a clue what was going to happen in the training, right?
Yeah. But, let alone Mike.
Pulled it into an interview with this important-looking guy and this brand new thing that was happening, and you had to pass his tests, his interview to actually get it to that training. It was like, whoa, this is full on.
Can you remember much of the training?
Only that I'm pretty sure it was made up.
Yeah.
Next to the Intrapolly workout, there is this huge, steep hill, and I have a very distinct memory of doing hill sprints.
Got to make sure your fitness level was there. That's what he was testing.
Right. Yeah. How that related to body pump training, I'm not sure. The other thing that really stands out from that initial training is that I had to present the warm-up, and I was the first person that had to present any track, and I had to present the warm-up, and I think I probably got about 20 seconds in, and McSweeney stopped the music and he literally went, "That's shit, start again." And I was like, holy crap.
Truth bomb right there. No, Kaz, no.
Yeah. So, it could only get better from that point, right?
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. I love that that's a memory for you as well, to sort of go, I was first up. You would have been nervous as all hell getting up there, and then you've got this dude who's just made you do hill sprints galore and tested you to go, no, that's just, no, stop. It's like the baptism of fire, especially going first, isn't it? That whole, wow. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So how did it progress from there? Give us a little bit more if you can if you remember what it was like. Was it a 1 day? Was it a 2 day course? What was it back then?
It was a 2 day. God, I can't remember if we went back for a day 3. I'm sure we went back for day 3. At some point during that initial training journey, I found out I was pregnant.
Excellent.
So I was still teaching at this stage, right?
Yeah.
I was still a high school teacher. So I was actually early stages of being pregnant, and looking back at that, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe what you just made me do." And I'm actually pregnant.
Yep.
By the way. Sort of my next memory is, get back into club, and we launched, and that was a really big deal. And then there was ultimately some sort of conversation about, we're needing trainers. We need people to actually do this thing as an Australian base.
Yeah.
And I did a workshop with Steve Bernarda.
Okay.
And it was sort of like a baptism again. He he took that training, and so I was just sort of shadowing him, I guess. And then next thing I know, Joe Wade and I, because Joey had come over from New Zealand,
Yeah.
and landed in Brisbane. And so, yeah, Joe Wade and I were suddenly both shadowing and starting to present sections with a lady by the name of Jan, who I don't even know what her background was, but Joey and I sort of took over fairly quickly, and Jan, I don't know what happened to her.
Yep.
Heard that she was doing some sort of dragon boat racing. That's all I know.
Yep.
And yeah, so we started doing pump training modules, and then somehow by osmosis we learned how to do body attack training modules.
So wow. Oh wow.
Yeah. And then I remember at some point we actually went to a train the trainer. That was with Emma Barry, and that was probably, my most significant memory of just doing any training on how to be a trainer. And there was a manual and all that stuff that actually started to get put in place.
Was that in Queensland, or did you head over to NZ to do that?
No, we went, it was in Sydney. I think it was in Sydney.
Yep.
Could have been Sydney or Canberra. The other interesting thing that happened like around that whole initial training and explaining is we got invited to the very first quarterly workshop, I guess it was. That was in Newcastle.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, this massive big stage. I can't even remember the name of the club, but I'm sure Shelley Townsend was there as well.
Yep.
And, it was back when, like high kicks were highly contraindicated, and there were these random people who'd come from New Zealand, this little country, over the ditch somewhere, and they were doing high kicks. And it's like, oh my God, like, don't they know that that's unsafe?
Yep.
And that was body attack, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I remember flying in a really light airplane that was scary as all hell.
Yep.
From Toowoomba Airport to Newcastle Airport.
Oh wow! Back then that wouldn't have been what I say proper aircraft. That's those little like Pelican Air or whatever they are. They're tiny little things that fit maybe 12 people.
Like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, what an experience! That's brilliant.
This is the Group X podcast.
So at that quarterly workshop, was that for instructors, or was that for clubs to also come and see what the programs were that were being offered?
Just the initial exposure of Les Mills to the Australian gym market. It was organised by Bill, and obviously invitation only, because we flew our little crew down from World Gym Toowoomba.
Yep.
It was just to come and look and see at what this thing is.
Yep. Yep.
Before anyone was even trained.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that kind of stuff. That's unique stuff that no one's ever going to experience that ever again. That's so what was happening in the time back then. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, right on the edge of the great unknown.
Yeah, totally. So can you remember your first ever class you taught that was Les Mills group fitness stuff?
I can't remember the first class that I taught. I remember that after I did that shadow training module with Steve Renata, he came back and he visited the gym in Toowoomba and was there for a couple of days, and obviously, seeing how we were going because we'd launched. And I had to team teach with him, and oh God, I was just so nervous, and I completely screwed up the choreography on one of the tracks and just lost the plot. Somehow managed to get back on track, and that was just my first memory of being so nervous about teaching someone who was this this amazing dude who was bringing this thing, and I was supposed to be the person who was going to be rolling it out in Queensland.
Yeah,
it was a disaster. And back then I was pretty young and hot.
Yeah.
So
I was
worse.
I will say though that I think that's brilliant because it shows to me, nerves show that you love what you're doing. Yeah. If you don't have nerves, to me, I think it's more, you know what, are you really showing passion for it? And I think the nerves and that anxiety and that sort of adrenaline that runs through your body when you're doing that kind of stuff is brilliant. And the fact that you screwed it up, the fact that you got back on track is the main thing. You know, you got back on track and I was like, yeah, okay, that was a bit of a crash, but yeah, you know what? It's okay. When no one died, no, it's group exercise. No one died here. This is all good. We're all good. We're going to keep moving through and do it. Did Steve?
Well, 6 years later, it's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I screwed that up.
Well, that's what the Corrie should have been.
This is the Group X podcast.
I want to skip back just if I can before Les Mills. If you can cast your mind back with me, I just want to need to have that music that sort of does that.
Yeah.
What was the first ever group fitness program you taught?
It was sort of like I guess it was a circuit style type, get in and do a few shuttle runs and now do a few squats and now do some push-ups. And totally made up. And then I ended up out of uni. So that was when I was at uni. And I ended up out of uni. My first teaching gig was in a little country town west of Brisbane called Warwick. Yep. And I was there for a couple of years. And there was a gym that opened up there. And I'd sort of been inspired by a lady in Toowoomba. I grew up with my parents running and my dad mostly running a squash and fitness centre.
Okay. Yep.
Back in the day, and so massive facility, had 10 squash courts. Squash was massive, and I played a lot of squash. And there's a little room down the side where they did aerobics, and there's this strange lady who turned out to be one of my really early mentors, by the name of Maureen, and she made her own gym gear, and she had the whole leg warmers with the G-strings on the outside.
Excellent.
And
yep.
Headband and like the whole Jane Fonda get up going on.
Brilliant.
So she sort of, inspired me, I guess, to start playing around with choreography and putting music together. And I quite liked that. I'm not especially creative, but I liked doing that. And so when I went to Warwick, I started teaching step and sort of fat burner and high-low style classes. It was all, you made up your own choreography, and we learned how to work with music. Yep. And then at some point in that journey, I did, can't remember what it was called, aerobics module, probably.
Yep. Was the grapevine and the marches forward and the side taps and all that kind of arm lines and all that kind of stuff, was that involved?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all of that. Okay. Grapevines and pivot turns and box steps, and I've still got a full book of choreography that sits, underneath my stockpile of really old choreography notes, just in case I need to bring it back one day.
Yes, love that. Now, let me ask you a question on that. Do you reckon that freestyle will make a comeback? Because we've sort of seen everything go around in that circle, and circuits come back, but it's just been called something else, and we're seeing it all. Do you think that freestyle group exercise will make a comeback in some way, or do you think that
in some way? I don't think it'll actually come back around to exactly what it was. Yep. There are still some clubs where it's going really well. There are still instructors who are teaching that style of thing, and we still have some members who love that. That's their preferred style of movement. And I think it's there's a definite skill involved in it. I think the main reason why we don't have a lot of that in our Australian market is because, well, Les Mills sort of took over, didn't it? We've got the highest quota of, compared to any of the other LM agencies, we've got the highest gym population using the licenses. But because of that, the opportunity for RTOs to really do any sort of aerobics training or, freestyle instructor training, it just died. It went away, and then Cert 3 and Cert 4 took over, and there was a minimal component within that
Yes.
that taught people how to build freestyle choreography. So there's not many people who have the ability to do it well.
Yeah.
Because they
Yep.
just haven't learned.
Yes.
And there's no one to be mentored, very few people to be mentored by.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. It was the reason I ask is it's a conversation I had with someone just recently around that. And I was like, I wonder if one day that would make a comeback. But I think it's almost it's an art form that, as you said, is not taught anymore. And I think the ones that know it aren't willing, that's not the right words to use, aren't probably in a position to want to or need to upskill or teach people in that. And unless someone really sort of went away and went, okay, I want to grab everything from the past that I possibly can to bring into this and design something new, then we may see something with it. But I think that I mean zero disrespect to anyone listening when I say this, but I think the great freestyle Group X instructors or trainers are dwindling away slowly as we're aging in our demographic of instructors. You can tell I'm choosing my words correctly. As we're aging as a population for instructors and trainers, that skill set isn't around anymore. The new instructor or the new breed of instructors coming through are being taught the excellent skills by Les Mills on, you know what, here it is. Go out there and do that. There's really no one doing the freestyle stuff. And it was interesting, the conversation we had, because it was just after Filex last week, and it was quite interesting to hear some other people's views on that as well.
Even in the space of, Les Mills, if you look at the great Les Mills choreographers, the guys that are leading the products right now, Lisa Osborne, Mark New, Glenn, they've all been doing what they've been doing for a long time, and they came from that old school space. So they have that skill, but they've also got a really good just affinity to work with music.
Yes.
So, what they've been doing has been happening for a long, long time, and there's probably a reason why they haven't been replaced, because they're so good at what they do.
Yes.
And not a lot of people actually have that ability.
Yep. The only thing I'll say is I hope that they are in the background, and they may well be. We just don't know in the environment we're in. I hope they are starting to upskill newbies. When I say newbies, new people, because I would hate to have, I even hate saying this, hate to have something happen to those head program coaches, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, we don't have someone to, wow, okay, we've got to start new. You'd want to be hoping that they are upskilling people underneath them and having people to bring through to sort of go, you know what, there's going to be a time where, I'm going to have to hand the baton on, or baton, or however you say that word, on to someone here. And you know what, can I do this when I'm 70? Do I want to be doing this when I'm 70? No, it's time to pass it on to someone.
I think we've thought for the last 10 years that surely Lisa's going to hand the baton on at some point, but she just keeps going, that woman.
She's a pocket rocket, that lady. She's a machine.
Just keeps going.
Yeah. But
she's amazing.
She said, was it double hip or one hip, and then she's back into to doing CrossFit stuff again. And man, I had a hip replacement last year, and they turned around to me and said, Tone, just don't squat below 90. And I'm like, that's cool. I won't be squatting. And Tone, don't run. I'm like, this rig has never run, right? If I'm running, you better run too, because something's chasing me. Like, get in front of me.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, there's
no reason in lifetime to run.
No, I agree. I get on a bike that pedals nowhere. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I don't need breeze in my. No, I was going to say I don't need breeze in my hair, but that's We'll leave that one alone.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, look, I do hope that they are looking at a succession plan and bringing new blood, I wouldn't say even new ideas, but new blood through, so that we start having that evolution that needs to happen. I think we need to future-proof what's happening in the industry for Group X as a whole, not just the Les Mills stuff, but everything as a whole, to make sure that the new generation are getting some sort of skills to continue this on. I would really hate to be here in 10 years' time and going, oh, Kaz, do you remember that conversation we had? Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Because for some reason Group X has died. It's gone. I would hate for that to be the case. Let's hope it's not.
I think it's just evolving in, a thousand different ways and directions, right? It's like, you know, can't remember who it was you were talking to now. The circuits are back.
Yeah.
Everything's evolving. It's just we're just inventing and reinventing and then expanding and calling it different things.
Yeah.
But it's almost, the same version with new toys.
Yep.
An assault bike versus, an assault bike is what we used to have in our squash center. 30 years ago, it was one of those wind train bikes that had the massive big fan in them to create resistance.
Yes. Yeah, I remember from the down here in Wollongong where we are at the Lakeside Leisure Centre, it was a super circuit, and that was one of the stations was the bike with the arms, and it was this big silver thing that you'd sit there and the fan would be blowing your shirt everywhere, and it'd be like, this is brilliant, this is same thing, just built differently. Come back around yet again.
This is the Group X podcast.
From when I started with Les Mills back in 2012, the evolution that I've seen of programs, even since then, since 2012, in the last 10 years, I haven't been there for 5 years, and we've seen Bar come out. We've seen the evolution of what was CX30 to CX Works to Les Mills Core come through. The changes that have happened, obviously with Sprint and the Trip as well. That kind of stuff 10 years ago didn't exist. That's an evolution in itself. I mean, we saw the implementation of CrossFit, then we saw the F45, we've got the BFT, we've got Orange Theory, all of that stuff coming through, and what I class still as group exercise and in our space. It's not stopping.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely not slowing down. It's evolving, and it's in some cases redesigning what we've done in the past to bring to the future.
Yeah.
And still growing in that way.
I think the exciting thing is that there's just more people doing stuff.
Yes.
Whether they're in my body pump class or in, a body fit facility up the road, it just excites me that more people are moving.
Yes.
And that, as a collective industry, we've got more people moving. Hopefully that's not just because there's more people in the population, right? Hopefully it's because there's a greater percentage of the population are actually invested in keeping themselves healthy and fit.
Yes.
And, it's pretty cool to know that you've been part of driving that, whatever your corner of the globe is, that you've created some sort of little ripple and hopefully inspired a few people.
Yep.
And you've just got people moving. I guess that's what's always been the biggest thing for me, coming from a PE teacher background. Get kids moving, get people moving, and just, it's make it a part of life.
Yeah. Yeah. On that, how many instructors?
Be fortunate enough to land in the Les Mills space.
Yes. Yeah. On how many instructors do you reckon you've trained in your career? Could you put a ballpark figure and just sort of go, I reckon it would be.
That's a really good question, and I've thought about it, and the maths is way too hard for me.
But you're a maths teacher. Hang on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Like literally, there would have been at least one training a month for probably 20 years.
Yep.
There's a lot of weekends of working and training instructors. So if we call that 20 years times 12, 240 times average of 10 people, that sounds like a lot.
Yep.
Whether that's sort of relatively accurate or not, I don't know. But
there's a lot of people.
A
lot of people that that you've helped become instructors that are helping more people move, getting fitter more often, and doing all of that. I think that's perfect because it's having that skill set for starters. I think is quite unique in that you're able to train other trainers to be able to get out there and train the masses. Yeah, I think that skill set of being a facilitator is gold because you're able to pass something on that it's not everyone can do that. Not everyone has that skill set to be that teacher and be that presenter or trainer that you were in that way. But to touch that many people's lives is gold. I think thank you.
Yeah, and
thank you for what you do.
As an educator, I guess it was always more rewarding for me to be in that training space than it was to be on stage as a presenter.
Yep.
Being the rock star. That was cool, but it was more rewarding to actually watch people grow and change and be really inspired to take that back to their people and help other people move. That was always the best part of it for me.
I really enjoy hearing that
so
because
say,
sorry, go.
Then I decided at some point that I needed to have a life and get my weekends that I'd never had before back. That was pretty cool too.
I remember having that conversation with my wife as well when just after Lee was born. She's like, you know what? No, I really want to have my weekends back. I want us to spend some family time and do it. And so I can relate to that one. The I suppose the thing that I was going to say there before is that most of the trainers, most of the people that have been on the show that I've had a chat to that are trainers and presenters have sort of said the same thing. While they love that opportunity to be up in front of so many people at a quarterly workshop and with their peers and presenting and doing that, because that energy is so amazing in that room of instructors that are all there hanging off every word, hanging off every move, hanging off the music and doing it all. That moment when you're actually with them one-on-one in that training environment where you're able to see them come in on the first day on the Saturday morning and look at them going, wow, you guys are like deer in headlights, to, 3/4 of the way through day one, and then at the end of day two, and then even when you come back for day three and see them from where they were to where they are, the fact that you guys love that has been this. I've had so many people write in or get in touch with me and say thank you for these podcasts, because that shows a real side to you guys, that you're not I say show pony, and I know that's not the right word to use, and I'm still trying to find the right word I want to use in that space, but that you guys you're real. Yeah. You're not the Pavarottis that are just up there going, hey, check me out. This is all about me. How many likes and how many followers can I get? You're genuine people that give a shit about what we do in this industry and want to help those people be the best they can be for the people that they're in front of as well, which, brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. And, it's funny because even though I'm not in that training space anymore, I'm still have the opportunity through, my role as state career fitness manager, and just even as, when I was in a club-based GFM role, to mentor people and help them and give them feedback and, help them grow. So, but on the back of that, I still, right now, teaching classes is one of my favorite things to do. It's literally what keeps me sane some days. So it's this beautiful opportunity to escape and just connect with other people and be there and forget about everything else that's going on. And move together. So there's something great about both spaces. The ability to pass it on.
Hey, you've obviously seen a lot of development with the training and how the programs were rolled out here within Australia, but obviously, how Les Mills evolved. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on what you saw and what you experienced from your first initial module training with Mike and, doing hill sprints to where it is now, or sort of how that evolution went through and how it was, I suppose, to present the content as it evolved?
Yeah, well, there was a huge shift from where it started. Obviously, I'm sure there was no manual. And then I remember the trainer that we did with Emma Barry was the first time we actually had a proper training manual to follow, and that kept evolving. And then it probably was, I can't remember what year it would have been, but probably, 10 years into being with Les Mills, maybe not quite that long, I was invited to a deep dive in New Zealand, which is essentially was their first real deep dive, literally, into what the training needed to be. And looking at different, educational tools and the whole science of learning and how people learn and how that should be embedded in different elements within module training. So that was a really critical turning point, because from that, new manuals were written for various programs, which then became the foundation for, the way all modules were written, all trainings were rolled out. So that was really cool to be part of and sitting in that space. And I felt, very out of my depth. But I guess as an educator, it was pretty exciting
Yep.
to be involved in that as well.
So once that was done
I guess,
in NZ, did you guys then get the opportunity to come over here and roll that out to the team here? And then obviously the team rolled it out to in module training?
yeah, at some time later, it's a very big, slow-moving vehicle, really, from start to finish. So, yeah, that did eventuate in new training manuals, and I was involved in a number of train the trainer boot camps when I was HPC for BODYPUMP, which sort of started, I think it was Body Step first, and then Body Attack, and then finally BODYPUMP. Which was my longest stint as a HPC. So through all of that, we ran a number of different train the trainers, which again, using some of the LMI content, but having developed some content within LMAP with the different people that were sitting in the training director role. So as different elements coming from different spaces to give our team the best training to be the best facilitators. To roll out, really world-class training modules. So that was a really, cool thing to be part of.
Yeah.
Because we were, right at the cutting edge of how the industry was evolving.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I know that I say that quite often, and I've said that quite often with you, but I love hearing it because it's unique. Yeah. There's not everyone's going to have that experience of being involved in that kind of stuff, and I love being able to share that with people and people hearing that, because it's a not a snapshot, it's not the right word of using, but it's an overview really of how we have developed in what we're doing, but also the programs that we love and teach so much that if they stayed as they were back when you did your training, I'm sure the programs wouldn't be what they are today. Yeah, and no disrespect to Mike, and I hope I can get him on the show for a chat one day, because I've got some people reaching out to him to say, dude, have a listen to this guy and see if you can get on, because I'd love to get him on for a chat. But I think it's great to see that evolution, and the fact that you're part of it, I think is brilliant. So, again, kudos to you, and thank you for being part of what you were to get it to where it is now. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and the other cool thing that I had the opportunity to be part of was, Gary Hart was our training director for a while, and Gary was a really creative guy, and he came up with the idea of what was the precursor to AIM really.
Yep.
I can't remember what that was called.
Pro Trainer or something like that. Pro
Trainer. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Pro Trainer. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was sort of part of the development of that with him, and he called me one day and he goes, I'm going to take this to LMI because I think it's a product that they could really use. And it eventually, drove towards, I think they were working on something in the background. So, it rolled out as AIM 1, AIM 2. So yeah, Pro Trainer, Gary and I did a road trip to New Zealand. We went to LMNZ, we went to Auckland, and we basically had Susan Renata, we had Emma Barry, we had Mark New, we had Jackie, all the key people.
Yeah.
All the key people. And we literally took them through this Pro Trainer course.
Wow.
I look back now and go, what the hell was I thinking? Like, seriously, Gary, how did you actually convince me to do that?
Yep.
Because, we did there's this whole physical testing thing that we did, which was cool. We went down to the park and we did that with everybody. And look, to their credit, they were amazing. I reflect back on that and go, they could have totally told us just to fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, that they were sort of, they looked like they were openly accepting what we're doing and having a red hot go and listening and, taking it all in. And then, of course, in all of those training modules, you have to present tracks, right?
Yep.
So we've got these people on stage teaching tracks in the programs that they write the choreography for, and we're giving them feedback on their tracks based on the content of Pro Trainer.
That's gold.
So I remember distinctly I had to give Mark New feedback on a body step track. I had to give Jackie feedback on a body balance track. I had nothing. I had nothing at all. Like, what do you say?
Yeah.
What?
Here's this program we've developed that's going to take you guys to the next level. Yeah. Just saying that sentence in itself makes you sort of go, wow, you guys had some cojones in there to actually rock over there and go, hey, we want to develop this stuff. We're going to use you guys as our guinea pigs or for the example of this. But it obviously went somewhere and landed because
you be our test dummies.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can teach you something because we know everything. I'm like, seriously, what the hell? God. One of those moments you think back and go, if I could do one more thing, say no. Say no, Karen. Tell Gary that's not a good idea.
I think though that if I'm going to relate that back to group fitness managers for a second, group fitness managers giving feedback to their instructors, even if they're not trained in the program, you can still give feedback to someone in relation to what you see, and the understanding and concept. Because being that instructor, I was guilty of it. I sometimes put the blinkers on and you just sort of go into autopilot and you do your thing and you're used to doing it that way. And sometimes having that external person look at it to be able to give you feedback, I'll be honest and say the team that you went over there and got them to get up and give their track, you guys could have seen stuff that they might not have seen with what you were looking for in that way. Even it was bloody hard to give them feedback and not be able to give Jackie feedback on what she was doing in balance, but still, hey, there's ways of doing, giving that sort of feedback. So I think GFMs take it on board and know that you can still give feedback.
I'm not trained in body balance either.
Yeah.
So I was giving Jackie feedback in a program that I'm not even trained in.
Yep. Yeah, it can be done. And I think that's the confidence we should be passing on to these GFMs and going, hey guys, you know what? You can still give feedback even if you're not trained. You just need to think outside your square. And it's not so much technique feedback you need to give them, but feedback on everything they're doing in that. Yeah.
This is the Group X podcast.
Stop laughing now.
Yeah. No, look, I love that because it's also, if that's where the program, Pro Trainer started and the evolution that we've seen from that, that's also from what my understanding is how we got the next group of trainers and presenters coming through, because they needed to go through that to then, obviously the aim 1s, aim 2 and get the tick off for that kind of stuff. So it's nice to know where that sort of foundations came from as well, so that these new trainers or new people, new instructors, I should say, coming through, get that understanding on, what, guys, there's a bit of history here. This is how it was way back. This is how it is now. And this is what we sort of went through to get you guys where you are now, so the next level of trainers can come through.
Yeah. And it all came from a really good place. We certainly didn't think that, we were experts. I certainly didn't think that I was, going to be able to make Jackie Mills more amazing than she already was. But we thought that we had a really good thing that instructors internationally could grow and learn and, be more amazing on stage and help other people, move better, essentially. So it was coming from a good place.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you a question around presenting. Have you got a memorable moment or a moment that really sticks out in your mind above any other of being at a quarterly workshop or being that you want to share? I mean, if not, it's all good, but I want to know if there's something in your mind where you go, you know what, this moment I'll never ever forget.
There's been a lot of pre-COVID amazing, massive Bilex events, super workshops. I was part of some huge super workshops. Back in the day. In Brisbane and in Sydney and in Melbourne. The funny thing, probably what stands out for me, like more than me presenting, is just being on stage with other great presenters. And, there's been some magic moments. I remember clearly some things that not the things that have been said, that just moments and the response from the crowd, from teaching with Lee Smith, teaching with Jacka Missick, just moments of pure gold, and you go, oh my God, and it's none of it's been scripted. It's just come out
just all
through the moment.
organic.
It's that stuff, and it's probably remember, why I can't remember a lot of, stuff that comes out of my own, because it's the magic comes when you're not thinking about what you're saying. You're just responding to the music or what's happening in front of you at the time. And it happens and you go, someone write that down for me because I need to know that for later, but you can't actually recreate it because it's right there in the moment. So,
and even if you tried to say it again, it might not land because it was the moment for that. Yeah,
that's exactly right. But so it's the funny thing is, the interesting thing for me is that presenting live like that, whether it's a massive super workshop event or even a smaller quarterly workshop event in a club, that to me is much more real than presenting on a DVD. Because you're just right there with the crowd. So that's always been much more my favorite thing to do. It's it's like my club classes. I love teaching them because you've got real people in front of you, and you can react to what's happening in the room.
In real time.
The connection happens.
Masterclass filming. You've had the opportunity.
Yes.
How many masterclasses were you on? How many DVDs? Well, not DVDs anymore. We'll just call them videos because DVD days are gone. How many did you have the opportunity to present on?
They were DVDs when I started. They were actually, they just had clay tablets and you just used to write.
I was going to say, what? What are you talking about? Oh, that was a good one. I like that. So that was pre-VHS then, yeah?
Right. I first did Body Step and then a Body Attack and then a Body Pump. And then I was part of Body Pump 100 and then I did an RPM. So
5.
Yeah, just made my way around a few different programs.
Brilliant. Do you have a favourite? I know that's a stupid question to ask because it's like, standing in front of your kids and a kid says, which one's your favourite? You should never have a favourite. But did you have a favourite or do you have a favourite out of all the opportunities you got?
Favourite filming or a favourite program?
We'll go filming first and then I'll come back to program after.
I think the very first one, because I didn't have a clue. I was completely naive. I had no idea what was going on. I'm sure I was there because Lisa was pregnant, right? So she couldn't do it, so they had to get a sub. And I happened to be HPC for Body Step at the time, so they went, Karen, throw Karen in. So didn't have a clue what I was doing. Just went in, and what you see is what you got. And had some fun, and that was great. It wasn't really a nerve-wracking experience apart from the actual filming. Like all the lead-up stuff was heaps fun. I remember team teaching with Susan Renata. Oh God, on one day, the funniest thing, and she forgot her belt pack, her belt pack from Mike to go in. And so she just tucked it down the side of her tights. And we were literally doing the speed step, and she stopped, and the mic had slid past her knee down her tights. So she's reaching down inside of her tights to grab the mic pack. Funniest thing. So it was just really off the cuff and loose and real. And until the day of filming, and then Lisa rocked up in front of me with baby on board and everything. And suddenly she's standing in front of me and we're filming, and I'm like, can't change it. Let's just go with it. So we did it, and that was fine. The Body Attack experience was much more structured than that. They'd sort of worked out a bit more of a process by that stage. And the same with Body Pump. Probably Body Pump was my favorite because I was filming Dangerous, the lunge track, and it's just one of the classic lunge tracks of all time. So that was just fun because it was a cool piece of music and I really gelled with it. And so that and the body step were probably my favorite. Just that was and it was real.
Yeah.
RPM not so much. It was, you know, much more recent, and it was just felt a bit plastic.
Yep.
Because, you know, the sound and this light, everything's evolved, and it was more than just a training video at that point. So the whole production around it being a virtual tool as well, it just changes the whole feel of what you're doing.
Yep.
So that one didn't feel.
What release was that for RPM?
77.
Okay, so
that was still new, right?
Yeah, but still recent compared to
still recent enough to have been a virtual product at that point.
Okay, and let me ask you on that then. What was the main differences between the pump and the step filming to how did you have to present differently for the RPM? Was it targeted, and what you had to say was targeted differently to what you would have said for pump? As in, I know what you say for the programs is different, but I mean how you because it's to a different market. Obviously, we've seen the programs evolve so that they are now for the home market. Yeah. Were you having to say things differently than what you would normally to a
There was a lot more coaching involved. Coaching, I mean, from a mentor coach working with the filming team.
Yep.
For that, but you know, it was quite a few years later after all of the other filming, so it was just the evolution of the filming process, and I guess having, you know, heaps of different presenters heading to New Zealand to be part of that, and I guess making sure that what they wanted, what LMI wanted out of the video was actually what was being delivered by the presenters. So the whole mentoring and coaching process of having feedback after every practice teaching class, it was just much more of a strict process of what you needed to say and how you got feedback and what you had to go away and work on. And the first few times I really don't remember getting very much feedback.
Yep.
It was just have a practice. Yeah, that was pretty good. Go and do it again.
This is the Group X podcast.
So you were also head program coach here in Australia. For what programs were you head program coach in Australia?
Started off with Step.
Yep.
And then moved to Attack.
Yep.
And then moved to Pump.
Okay. I'm not going to ask if you had a favourite out of the three of them. Again, that's like asking your favourite child. But I'm going to say with those three as well, being a head program coach, you would have had to deal with a lot of personalities, a lot of different personalities with the trainer team. And I'm assuming there would have been
just a little bit.
Some challenges.
Let's just say by the time I ended up in the pump space, I was really happy that I was not in charge of body step.
Yep. And nothing against the team of body steppers. I'm sure they would have been fantastic.
No.
But no, look, I can only imagine knowing what it was like as a group fitness manager in North Sydney back when I started, and a lot of the trainer team were working for me then. I understand without having to say the words exactly what you may have been going through with that, because there are a lot of personalities, a lot of very different personalities, which you need to have a skill set to be able to manage all of them. So I totally appreciate what you're saying there.
Yeah.
That as well.
Yeah. And, you know, by the time I got, you know, to be in the body pump space, everything had evolved a lot as well, right?
Yeah.
So we had much more structure around what that looked like and what the team expectations were. And there was just much more structure and much more, organization around the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and I had, you know, I was a HPC for body pump for a long time. I'm going to say, I don't know how many years, might have been close to 10 years. I don't know. It was a long time.
Yeah.
And I just remember, you know, that team was amazing. They were just generally a lot more level-headed than what I heard coming out of the other, you know, what I say, the creative program spaces. The body pumpers were just a lot more neutral and generally really respectful of each other. Just loved, you know, didn't matter who you presented with. everyone was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had some really, really good people, and like I loved that part of, you know, my Les Mills journey being HBC pump, just because of the people that I got to work with.
Yep.
Such a cool training group
Yeah.
and presenter group, and that loved what they did, and really didn't come with too many airs and graces. It's completely
Yep.
authentic in what they did, and you know, we had a great time on stage together.
Yeah. Yeah. Lovely.
And it's probably, you know, fortunate that I got to take a lot of them through Train the Trainer, and you know, select who ended up being in the presenter and the trainer team as well. So had trained and developed a lot of them from the ground up.
Yeah.
So you know, that was good.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Hey, let me ask you a question. And I know you're not, as you said, you're not a trainer and presenter at the moment. You're not in that position anymore.
I'm still presenting a little bit.
Oh, you are? Sorry, I totally screwed that up. I thought you'd stepped aside. My apologies. So you're just not in the trainer role at the moment. So you're
I'm
presenting.
not training anymore. Yeah, I'm still presenting, but just for Body Pump. I made a decision at the end of last year that I needed to scale back because my full-time job was just getting so big.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I am still presenting Pump at quarterly workshops.
Cool.
It doesn't coincide with weddings and other things.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, that's when I just realised that was the last time I saw you. Was Mr. and Mrs. Smith's wedding in WA pre-COVID, wasn't it? It was just before COVID really sort of come along and went, we're shutting the world down. That's when,
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just had that moment then.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Hey, so your role that you've got now, you're with Good Life?
With Fitness Lifestyle Group, FLG.
Yep.
So 41 clubs in Queensland, and I'm their state group fitness manager.
Brilliant. And how is that? Of all those clubs, is it that in itself is I say, you've obviously got the skill set, you've got the training background, you've got all that kind of stuff, and you know how to manage people. But that's a lot. That's a lot of clubs. That's a lot of individual group fitness managers or staff that you're.
There's a lot of clubs. I have a fabulous team of two regionals that I work with.
Yep.
Leek and Erica, and we have an amazing team of group fitness managers. And I guess, you know, group fitness people are passionate people, so we love what we do, and they're all passionate instructors and love, you know, teaching to the members in the various clubs as well. So we've got a great team who generally just want to make group fitness a huge part of the business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of challenges, you know, with our business as well as all businesses around the world at the moment coming out of the global pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's a stack of challenges that we're facing as a business and as a group fitness department. But, you know, ultimately we just love group fitness. So we keep doing what we can do to, create great fitness experiences for people who are coming into our classes and keep that moving along.
Oh,
41 clubs is busy. Is a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions around group exercise in Queensland. Yeah, I'm chatting to a lot of trainer presenters that I have, but also in my day job with Body Bike, chatting to a lot of clubs. There seems to be, each state has experienced something different. What I'm sort of understanding or picking up from chatting to clubs and the challenges they've been facing. Queensland seems to have not, we're not going to say not been affected as much, but has bounced back a lot quicker than other states. You know, I'm seeing clubs in other states close down. Now, not chains, but other independents that are closing down because they've struggled to bounce back after the pandemic and that kind of stuff. But a lot of the clubs that I've spoken to from Queensland have bounced back and seem to be, hey puppies, have bounced back and seem to be back where they were almost pre-pandemic. Is that, are you seeing that up there in Queensland or not so much?
Yeah, we were quite fortunate in Queensland that we didn't have the extended lockdowns that a lot of other states in Australia and a lot of other places did. So we essentially had, one major lockdown and a few other days here and there.
Yeah.
So it was in the big picture of what happened in the rest of the world, we were very fortunate.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And I guess for that reason, there's still a new normal, and there's
Yes.
still a lot of mask wearing, but the rules were not as restricted. When we reopened the gyms, we did have some restrictions on class capacities, but they were very quickly eased.
Yes.
And while there's no specific rules now, we'll never have as many bikes in cycle studios as we did 2.5 years ago, because that was side by side, right?
Yeah.
You could not even lean and touch the person beside you, because they were so tightly packed.
Yeah.
So that'll never happen again. People aren't going to want to ever stand that close to another person, probably for a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while we don't have restricted capacity, we'll still have less people that we are able to fit in most of our studios, just because people like a bit more space. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That might change over time.
Yeah.
But what we have seen, I guess, is a real resurgence in the market generally. People came back into gyms very quickly. And while it's fluctuated, depending on which COVID wave we've had, the gym closures haven't been extended to sort of stop it completely, apart from that initial break that we had.
Yeah.
So that's been really fortunate. And then off the back of that, I guess, for whatever reason, and I can't know exactly what's happening in all the other states, but Queensland's having this huge boom of there's new gyms opening down the road every day.
Yeah.
There's new studios, there's new fit stops, there's new body fits, there's World Gym and Fitness Cartel are opening all over the shop. There's so much competition and new studio space that's opening.
Yeah.
So what we have found is that we can't keep up as a Queensland industry in supplying staff.
Yes. Yeah.
Staff shortage is a real challenge at the moment, and sickness, of course, and everything else doesn't help that. But the instructor pool that we've got changed significantly coming out of COVID. Some people didn't want to do what they were doing before, and everyone rethought what their life was all about.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Yeah, we've also had all these new clubs opening, and Fitness Lifestyle FLG have opened new clubs as well. So we've been part of that.
Yeah.
But it just meant our existing instructor base is really thin.
Depleted. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're just madly finding new instructors and people who want to become an instructor, and sort of pushing them into that training space and finding new ways to do that quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's a real challenge at the moment. You find someone and hire them for a cover of that particular class, and you turn around a second later and they've picked up a class in that time slot by a gym down the road.
Yeah.
That's just open. So that's probably one of our biggest challenges at the moment.
Yeah.
Everyone's open and everyone's doing well, and so well that there's lots of new stuff happening.
Yeah. I think the instructor recruitment, especially after the pandemic, has been one of the topics that I've chatted to a lot of people around, and recruiting and retaining those instructors, I think is a big challenge. And I don't know how Fitness Lifestyle Group dealt with it, but I know a lot of the independents that I spoke to, when the pandemic came, especially in New South Wales, and it was here in New South Wales, and we had a fair few more lockdowns, obviously, than Queensland, and then Victoria had, as we know, a truck ton more than anybody else. Instructors were just virtually put on hold and said, hey, we're going to press pause on you. We know you'll come back when the timing's right. But a lot of them didn't feel any love, didn't get anything really from their clubs. It was just like, well, yep, there's nothing I can do about it. You're getting paid by the government. You know what? When we open back up, you'll come back. And there was just that sort of an expectation that they would come back. I think a lot of instructors turned around and were like, well, hang on a second. Why should I come back? Why should I come back to teach to you? What is the compelling reasons you've got? What are you offering me now? And as you said, there's so many more clubs that have opened up. Instructors do have more of an opportunity than ever to go and teach, but a lot of them also turned around and went, well, hang on a second, you know what? If that can happen again, there's no guarantee the government's going to give us money next time. So I need to look at what I'm doing, and where I was teaching maybe 8 classes a week before, I may only teach 2 because I'm going to go and find a full-time job. I'm going to go and do something very different. And so I think that whole instructor pool, as you're saying, the instructor pool has thinned out a lot. Yes, because of new clubs, but also because people have sort of gone, well, hey, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I need some security here. You know, I don't know what's going on. As a club, you sort of just pressed pause on me and said, yeah, cool, you'll come back. I think during that time, and it's you know, it's so easy for me to sit here and say it. I wasn't a club owner, and I don't know what clubs are sort of going through then, but I would have thought that a lot of clubs were getting that opportunity to reinvest in their club and do that kind of stuff. The government was giving them money, and some clubs repainted and redid that kind of stuff. I'm yet to see any clubs that really invested in their instructors during that time. And from chatting to instructors, they were like, well, we didn't get anything. You know, there was nothing for us. And I think it's a learning curve for us all to sort of understand, no, hey, if something like this ever, God forbid, let's hope it doesn't, but if it ever happens again, we need to look after those guys as well. We need to look after the instructors because there's no guarantee they're going to come back at the end, you know, whether upskilling them in some way. And that doesn't mean, you know, going out and spending thousands upon thousands of dollars, but it could have been, engaging them in some way to do online classes in a different way or upskilling them or giving them something where they actually were part of. Now, don't get me wrong, I also understand that a lot of instructors turned around and said, well, the government's paying me, I don't care. I'm not going to come back and teach for a bit anyway because as soon as I come back and teach, I'm going to lose the money that the government's given me. So you know what? Yeah, cool. I'll take $700 a week when I was really only earning 120 before. So you know what? Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
you know, so
there's quite a bit of that, right?
Yes, and that I remember Rach telling me when she was working at the uni down here that there was a whole group of instructors that turned around and said, no, we're not coming back yet. Hang on a second. We're open. Restrictions have lifted. You can come back in and teach. No, I'm getting more paid from the government. No, I'll come back when that stops.
Yeah.
That whole attitude. I mean, yeah, obviously it was that whole who knows what was going on. It was all different for everybody and everyone was, you know, in that different stage of we don't know what's happening here. This is all uncharted territory. Yeah. But yeah, just quite interesting. Some of the people that I've chatted to, it's everyone's got a not a different view. That's not what I'm trying to say, but everyone's has different opinion on how things could have been handled and how things were handled, and it seems to be different from state to state.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, like we tried, I guess, to really just stay in touch with our people as much as we could. Just to, you know, I would still send. I was still club GFM at that time, and I would still send my team a bit of an update every few weeks, just to check in and go, hey, you know, how are you going out there? I've walked the dogs 24 times in the last 3 days, and what have you guys been doing?
yeah. There's no. Please, I think what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to have a go at anyone because I don't think there's right or wrong. Yeah, with anything that we did, we just did what we did. But I think it's it's always looking back and reflecting and sort of going, wow, if this ever happens again, that's an asset that we need to look at to do something different. I suppose even the instructors can probably turn around and say, hey, we would have liked this, or let's have that voice to sort of go, you know what could we have done? Let's discuss it. What could we have done differently for
Tony,
you guys?
We're not doing it again.
Sorry. Yeah, but here I am being all negative.
Get that memo. That's not a thing. It's not going to happen again.
Oh dear. When I
was that instructor that the day the door opened, I'm there. I've got my shoes. I've got the music. Like, give me people to work out with. Because working out by myself sucks.
Yeah. No, look, I say that on the edge of this caution, knowing that China's still in lockdown.
Yeah.
China is still in heavy lockdown, and that's where this stupid thing began. That still freaks me out, knowing that I don't know what variant they're up to now, if there's changed or whatever it is. During COVID, we rearranged our lounge room and I moved the TV away from the socket on the wall. And so it's never been plugged back in. I don't care about what's on, Channel 9, Channel 7, Channel 10, ABC. I don't watch that TV anymore. We just watch Binge or Netflix or Stan or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I hear enough on the radio as I'm driving to and from work. That's enough. I don't need to watch it, So but just knowing that the country where it all began is still in some form of restrictions and lockdown, really.
Scary.
Yeah. Christ, I hope it doesn't come back, but I'm just not confident at all that it's not over yet. Let's hope it is, but yeah, I don't mean to.
Yeah, well, someone I'm sure that there'll be a number of people in the fitness space like reaching out to Matt Thraxton as soon as they can get a hold of him, as soon as he's out of lockdown, to go, mate, tell us what happened, because he's going to have some hell of good stories.
Yeah. Actually, he's someone I need to chat to as well. I need to try and get him on here for a bit of a chat. That boy would have some stories.
For
sure.
This is the Group X Podcast.
Are there any words of wisdom that you'd love to pass on to any instructors looking to get into the trainer presenter space?
Just there's so much choice right now as to what you can teach, what you can train in, the RTOs that you can be trained from. Just be really selective. Find what you love. And don't be forced to train in something that someone else wants you to do. Find out what you love. And because that's what you're going to be amazing at. When it's not hard work, when you don't have to think about it, when you genuinely just love moving or teaching in that format. I think there's just so much choice that sometimes you want to do everything. But until you really find out what you love, then you're not going to be great at it, and you can't be great at everything. So be selective. But if you love fitness and you love working with training and moving with people, then definitely do something. Start those basic courses. Do gel, do Cert 3. Get your foot in the door, and then find out what you love. Before you go and do everything.
So I think
something before you try to be good at everything.
What I picked up there was you're telling me I shouldn't go and do body jam training.
Not unless you really, really love it.
Look, you know what? I've got two left feet, as I've said a couple of times on the show, chatting to people. I've got two left feet, and they both want to go right. So when it comes to dance, I'm the dad bod that does the dad dance, and Leah absolutely loves it and giggles at me going, Dad, stop. So that'll be a program I'll never train in.
Fun fact about me, I actually did 2 days of body jam training and didn't quite make it back for day 3.
Okay. Yep. Look, I have participated in Shabam. When Shabam first came out here in Australia, I was working at Les Mills, and we had a day where the entire office went and we did Shabam. Now, that's when I worked out that my hips don't swing. I don't have rhythm in that way. Got rhythm on a bike. Yeah, I can bike and sit on a bike, and I can pedal, and I can be as groovy as everything and make it look like I'm dancing up there, having a rock show. But when it comes to, you know what's really sad is when I was younger, I wanted to do ballroom dancing. There's probably a reason why it never eventuated. Oh, I love it. Kaz, seriously, thank you so much for coming on the show and having a chat with me. I've appreciated your time and getting to know you in a one-on-one environment like this a lot better. So seriously, thank you for being part of it and coming on.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you again for inviting me on, and keep doing what you're doing with the pod, because it's just great that there's a voice that's really real about what we love about doing what we do in Group X. So cool. Thank you.